Hello and welcome to our consumer guide for normal people, hosted by One Roof Financial. I'm Caroline Eburn, partner and mortgage and protection advisor. Hello and welcome to another episode of our podcast. Today we have a special guest. We're joined by John Ruskin of RH Homes and Property. Welcome to John.
Good afternoon.
Great to have you with us today.
I'm looking forward to being here. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, John, you are incredibly experienced in this area, so we thought it might be fantastic for you to start off with introducing yourself, who you are, a bit of your background, and then if we can maybe give some advice to our listeners as to, what to look for when choosing an estate agent.
Okay. Well, we've been trading as RH Homes only since last November, or November 2020, which was smack bang in the middle of the COVID period. But prior to that, I'd done time as an independent agent, a part of a corporate company, a franchise, so covered all and sundry really. And then mid-lockdown, I thought I'd try and do something different again and start off at possibly the worst possible time or possibly the best possible time. Who'll ever know? But that was the change. We kept everything. And I'd sat in my conservatory for about 6 months, sort of talking about having a change and did estate agencies change massively? And actually, it probably did, I think. And same as most businesses, I think. We've all had a massive alteration. So we moved to having a mix of hybrid and an office-based estate agency, which is where we are now with RH as we stand.
Yeah, so we saw your new home on Castle Street. I'm sure many people have. It's in a really prominent location opposite Hill Street. Has it been a good move? Are you happy there?
It's been a great move for us, yeah. I sat in my conservatory and worked and thought, nobody needs an office anymore. But actually, I think there's a lot of need for the good online presence and the good online work. But I think for a customer, it's nice to have that. But also there's the safety net of having somebody behind a desk that they can actually go and see. And we bought, I'm sure it probably the biggest office in town with the 3 stories and buildings at the back, etc., etc. But it also meant we could bring other companies into the fold of where we are. So we've got the estate agents there, we've got Lucy on the financial advising side, there's other companies, there's a charity, there's an aesthetics company, and actually they all bridge in to the type of work we do. So it's getting small homes for small companies really, which I think is going to be more and more important in years to come.
Definitely, because I think a lot of companies are downsizing their office space, and those who can work from home and want to continue to work from home, because it does work for some people to have the shorter commute and being there for the kids and that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of businesses are thinking, do I need that great big massive office? But trying to find somewhere small enough at a decent price is quite difficult, and there's very few buildings like yours and the Atkins building where I'm based.
Where you're based, yeah.
And that is individual units, and it just works really, really well.
I think it's certainly a way to go forward, and I say, hey, it's worked for us so far, and we've been comfortable with that. There's still a lot of work to do. The dear old council are helping no end with putting new windows and things in for us, hopefully with a grant. So we've been pleased as punch with that. But it's like 7 bridges, isn't it? It's a never-ending job. Finish at one end, start again at the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, we're really pleased to have relocated there. So we're hoping that'll take us forward the next 10, 20 years.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's brilliant, and I hope to be working with you for the same amount of time.
Well, that'd be great. Yeah, hopefully I'll be retired by then. You can take it all.
Oh yeah. True.
It'd certainly be good for the next few years.
Yeah, and because of your wide variety of experience in so many different areas of estate agency, what would you say are sort of the main things that our listeners and viewers it'd be good to look out for in an estate agent?
I think, as we say, I think the market and agents as a whole are changing. And there was the word I use and a word that a lot of people are taking up is the hybrid agency, where you have got good online presence and excellent photography and nice little write-ups of property details. But I still think there'll be the need for somebody, whether it be older, whether it be younger, and just want advice to actually be able to step into somewhere and pick somebody's brains. And I think that's the only danger with the purely online stuff. It's great if you're an expert at moving, or you're confident to do it yourself. But I think a lot of people they will be left a little bit on their own. And I think if there's one thing everybody knows these days, it's very difficult to just be sat, not quite knowing where to look next for the support bit.
Exactly, and at least everyone can find you in your lovely big office as well. So
hopefully we're difficult to miss.
And the bright coloured boards as well.
Yes, exactly.
The multicoloured board. So what was the decision to have the multicolours?
It was purely that, and again, it focuses back on the hybrid stage and just trying to be a bit more bespoke. Everybody seems to have very nice, very samey boards though. You can drive by, that's company X, that's company Y. We actually wanted something where we could go into somebody's house and sort of say to the kids, right, you've got a choice of yellow, blue, pink, green, or granny if not the kids. But but just to have that, but also so it caught somebody's eye and it showed that there was something a bit different to it, and it's not world breaking, but it does make it a bit more fun.
It makes it a bit more fun, yeah.
I think house moving, whatever it is, it's got to be fun, hasn't it? It's very easy to keep it drab.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of you as a local agent in the marketplace, what do you offer that's unique above others? Or is there something that, when someone's looking at 3 different agents and are thinking, who shall I pick? What's important for the consumer to ask? So what's the top questions you think they should ask?
I think for anybody looking for an agent, it's what to look for. Marketing is still the key, and I think Rightmove is still a monopoly if we take it to the online side of things. Everybody wants to know, are you on Rightmove? And it's a necessary evil for agents. It costs us all a fortune. We all frown every month, but it delivers the goods. But there's a catch-up with on the market booming, the likes of the smaller national companies really that are trying to buy it in and get a share. So, are your company on there is essential. Fee itself, let's park that because there'll always be an argument as to levels. But a lot of companies now can charge quite a chunk for floor plans, photographs, even viewings, which is fine if if people want that and are definitively moving and know their agent's going to make that work. But I think there's a lot of companies where that's an upfront charge and just ties somebody in. So we, again, as part of the hybrid side of things, we like to do a 2D floor plan, a 3D floor plan. It's what customers want, and I think that's the key, just providing something that is there. And I still hope nobody around me locally does that. It's a bit like having screens in the office windows. Again, it's not groundbreaking stuff, but it's a bit more fun for the customer. And hey, if I get my new window on the council as well, we'll not on the council, but with the council support. I'm sure the council won't like that, but with a bit of help from the council planning, then we'll get those stationed so that it's highly visible for anybody walking past 10 p.m. at night. you can see photographs, internal, external gardens, the living room, the downstairs WC. Just something that stands out a little bit more than just having a front of a house in an office window.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And we've all said that level of detail that really appeals to clients, and also prospect renters and buyers. It's seeing those little things, because it's not very often to see that. So really, really interesting.
I think there's too many companies all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
We work, and it's not relevant to everybody, but we work down in Hinckley in Leicestershire, and there's probably 12 agents and lots of financial advisors mixed in, all stood in a row. Our thought was, how on earth do you look different to next door?
Yeah.
And that was the essential ingredient. And we've got fine tuning to do on that still. It's not perfect, whatever is, but getting there is part of the fun.
Absolutely. So in terms of, again, looking at comparing one for another, reviews and recommendations are always going to be something that people look at.
Yeah.
So, is it something where you collect feedback and publicise that?
I think it's essential. We're very lucky at the moment that we're looking at Google reviews, and it's 5 out of 5. We've tried to work hard. We changed from being a biggish company as we were part of a sister company before. So providing the service was the essential point of that. I think anybody looking, read the detail, because there's always going to be not necessarily on ours, fingers crossed, but there's always going to be an unfair review for any agent. But I think it also gives a lot of background, what to look for. It covers what we were covering earlier, what to look for the agent, and what they're good at, what they're not good at. So whether it's a Google review or what other name drop of companies you could use, it's all essential. And I think for moving houses, and probably the same for financial advisors and things as well, it is always important, to say to somebody, do ask somebody that that's moved, see who's given a good service or not.
You only need to take a look at Spotted Hinckley most days.
Yeah.
Get good, bad and indifferent on there,
You
can't you?
absolutely
If you for whatever what your service is. But no, it's an essential part of it, isn't it? I think
Absolutely.
it's because everybody can tell you the most wonderful story about their company, about their service, but actually it's the public that should really be giving that pointer and do.
It's always a shame that when you've had a really good experience, less people put that out there than those who have had a bad experience. And I encourage absolutely everybody who's had a really good service from a local business to make sure they put that shout out and share their post on Facebook and do that Google review, because it really supports a local business. So I think it's really, really important that everybody out there that has that good service should make sure that that's known.
You're absolutely right, and I think it's too easy at times, isn't it, to think I'll do that tomorrow, and never get there. Whereas if you have a bad service, you think I'll sit down and grumble, and I'm going to do that now, and and I think some people can fall victim to that. I say with that 5 out of 5 at the moment, hopefully not too often, but for any company that's important, and the more people that can write that, the better. We try and do it for folk, and I think any company that's giving a good service deserves a pat on the back these days.
Absolutely. Because I think service is dropping just across the board in all industries, in all areas. It's almost like there's very few people now that provide and deliver what you expect. And I think times are changing, and COVID hasn't really helped, because time scales and even the banks and building societies that Lucy and I work with all day long, and the insurance companies all day long, everything's taking longer. It's taking longer to come back to you, and someone promises to do something and then doesn't do it, and then you're back on the phone, and you just wish everybody would just put a bit more effort in.
Yeah, and just do what they said they were going to do, instead of just, you feel like you get off the phone and they just scrunch up the bit of paper and put it in the bin.
I think it's been found an easy get out of jail, hasn't it, COVID?
Yes, I agree with that.
It's too easy to say, oh, we couldn't do that because
of COVID.
I'm working from home, or I'm something's not available. And I think certainly in our industry during COVID times, there was stamp duty holiday and things, which should have been a big door opener, and was, but it also has led to log jams where things could have been done quicker and haven't. Bit like you're saying with mortgage companies and things, not singling out the mortgage companies, but it held back the progress that could have happened. And I think, it's not sort of waving my own trumpet, but, if I've got something that desperately needs to be done, I can sit there at 10 p.m. at night at the office and get it finished. And I think it's been too easy not to do that. It's probably enough of sermon on that.
Yeah, brilliant. And something from sort of a practical side that I think the viewers and listeners might be interested in as well is sort of how you would decide on an asking price for a property. So what's sort of the process for that?
I think it gets better and easier, certainly for consumers these days, because there's so much information available online. So most people, agents included these days, will we have background systems on the likes of Rightmove, which will tell us asking prices of properties, tell us how long something's been up for sale, when it sold, how much it sold for. But a lot of that also is knowing, which particular postcodes work better. You can go to one street and the one 50 yards away doesn't achieve the same prices. And it's a case of knowing what X and Y have sold for when you're going to Z. But it's also the intricacy bits. Is that extra bedroom in a particular road going to have an impact? Is the extra parking? You're in the centre of a town. House next door is a little terrace and sells, and great, yippee day, that worked well. But the parking's 200 yards away. If the one next door comes up and has 2, 3, 4 parking spaces alongside, realistically, is that the same price? No, it isn't, even if it's an identical house. So there's all sorts of bits and pieces that all merge in. And I'd like to think, a lot of it comes down to experience over the years and knowing what sells and knowing why it sells, more importantly, I think, and why something doesn't. But there'll always be I think for the customer, it's always nice to be able to see a listing of house X sold, house Y sold, and therefore yours is worth that.
Yeah.
And there's some, the fantastic kitchen adds 10%. There's some, sadly, where, it maybe knocks 5% off. It's just having that nice mix of that side of things.
Yeah, and I guess, like you say, the comparable properties, show where you got your figure from, and and it's a good base to work off. And
that's exactly it, really. Yes, yeah, and markets change. There's you can go on a certain road and nothing sold for 4 or 5 years. So that can alter dramatically price from then to now. So there's a lot of intricacies that do or don't make a difference on that. One of the things I found over the years was a fantastic backup, but it's not a be-all and end-all, is to know the square footage of each house that you do. So every house where we do our little 2D and 3D floor plans, you can key in the information of how big that is, and it gives you an average price per road, price per area, price per town. It shows approximate pound per square foot or per square metre, if you're a bit more modern. And, that can work really well, because then you've got a benchmark to work other bits off. But I think the key thing in the UK, where we're so different to anywhere else in the world, that every house is different. And I think you've got to gauge it that way. You go to, for example, the United States, and somebody can have the finest granite kitchen in the world and the finest, granite slabs outside as well. But if next door sold for X, then they won't price it any differently.
Right.
It has to stay the same. That's the nice thing of the UK market, I think. Everybody does have individuality.
Yeah, definitely. And what would you sort of recommend to someone looking to sell their home to make their home more desirable to potential buyers?
I think, most people know the key bits to this. It's great to have the smell of coffee and the smell of bread, and and it's essential really to do the logical things. To get the little bit of black mark around the shower cubicle, or to polish neatly the kitchen,
to tidy up.
To joking apart, yes, yeah. to put the washing away or make your bed before reviewing. But I think the key things are all fairly obvious. It's just it's again tweaking those to make that work. So a lot of people, we love the family photographs. It is quite important though to take those off the wall at times, because you're selling your family's home, not one that somebody else wants to move into. Silly bits like that can be important. And I think we're all guilty with our own home. We all know our own good bits, but we all know our own bad bits. And I think when selling, we can concentrate on making good the tiny little things that maybe not quite so relevant, whereas the Wembley stripes in the lawn, or the, as we say, the neatly newly siliconed bath, or whatever else they can be the crunchers. They can be the deal breakers for somebody to buy or not.
Yeah, and I guess removing sort of signs of pets and stuff in case, maybe they're allergic or that sort of thing.
It's a funny thing with pets, isn't it? We're a country of pet lovers, and I like pets, and but it. Yes, it is amazing when you go to different houses that if I looked at it from a buyer or from a seller, I think it's a percentage game thing selling a house. The more people you can appeal to, the easier it is. And if you've got a dog and, hey, 10% of your viewers have asthma and go around and don't like the little bits of doggy hair or something, then it can make a difference. So, yeah, I think, most of us are pet lovers, but I think it always makes sense to clear them out a little bit. It is. It's exactly that, a 1 in 10 scenario.
Yeah, brilliant. And are there any things to sort of just be careful of as well? So sort of mentioning, about possible neighbours or anything like that?
Well, I think we can all be a little bit, I wouldn't say too honest, that's a poor choice of phrase. I think being honest is the best thing you can do when selling a house. But, I think the people who sort of say, well, let's say they've got a family with one child and the family with 4 children come round, and they say, yeah, we're moving, we've just not got anything like enough space. It's a thing that's not going to be a great addition to the sale of the house. And
you can sort of just plant it for the buyer that I might outgrow this property because they've outgrown it. So maybe
exactly that. I think people buy things on a positive point, don't they? And it's painting a picture for somebody of the good bits, and it's very easy with the simplest little things that we say to not make it work. So there's let's grossly exaggerate, but you're on the flight path from the airport and you say, can't hear EastEnders at 7:30 every night as the jet goes overhead. It's never going to sell the house. It's and there's sort of silly bits like that. The cars are too noisy, or the neighbours have the music on at 10 p.m. and just as I'm trying to get to sleep, it's never going to be a great sales addition. I don't think it's something to say, no, that never happens, but it's not something to make an emphasis of. And it goes back, I think, again, to people buy houses never on the couple of points that they don't like. Every purchase is a compromise, I think, isn't it? Unless you've spent about some number of millions on the perfect house.
Yeah.
But people buy it on the good bits. Don't tell them the bits that don't work for you, because for somebody else that can be something totally different and totally irrelevant.
Yeah, brilliant. And I guess also people shouldn't be sort of frustrated if they can't sell the property straight away. And, that sometimes it does take time as well to find the right buyers sometimes.
Yeah, I think for viewings, I think we're all consumer led these days, aren't we? Everybody wants to do everything yesterday, which I understand. But sometimes, certainly in COVID era and things, people have had to make preparations. As agents, you have to wipe things down between appointments. That changed a lot of viewings and times, and just being as quick to get to somewhere. I think once selling, a lot of houses can sell great. First buyers can be the keenest people. It's so much easier these days as well, because it will click up on an iPhone or on a website, and properties come up. Quite often the keenest people are the first on the phone, and that's brilliant. But sometimes things just aren't perfect for every buyer. It would be a boring world if we all wanted to buy the same house, I guess, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So it is sometimes a case of just being a little bit more patient. And I think if you're in the very nice but normal, and I mean that in the nice sense of the word, sort of normal semi-detached house, there may be 10 in competition with you.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is just waiting for the 6th, 7th, 10th, 15th person to come along.
Yeah.
It's not always going to appeal to the first. And I think going back to how to pick an agent, I think if as long as they're sending you through detail of what people have said or what numbers are looking online, then you can very quickly gauge whether it's a house pricing, whether there's something else. Everybody said I wanted a red front door and yours is blue. Silly things that just stand out. And I think that makes life a lot easier for sellers too, because sometimes it's just there's not the right buyer out there at that point.
Yeah.
It can be a month. If you've got a let's
quirky
say
property.
A lovely thatched cottage. Everybody will love to look at it, but not everybody will want the maintenance side of things. So it can be a case of just waiting for the right buyer to come along. So yeah, that's all relevant, and I don't suppose, unless you're desperately, you're buying the mansion very quickly. Sometimes it doesn't matter whether it's day 1 or day 60 that it actually sells. The sooner the better for anybody. But,
yes.
Sometimes patience is key is probably a long wait for that answer.
Brilliant. And at least with your 2D and 3D floor plans as well, hopefully it'll give people a really good idea of what the property's going to be like, so they're not disappointed when they get there or anything.
We hope people can see it, but it does allow people to do their plans going forward.
Yeah.
Where do I put the extension on? How do I change? Everybody wants an open plan kitchen diner these days, so can I take that wall out? If there's not plans, and certainly the 3D ones work for that. It just shows what can be done much easier than just photographs, which are the greatest pictures in the world. It can be quite deceiving as to how a layout works.
Definitely.
Do you sometimes go and view a property and think, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you knock down that wall? You could, they could make such a small change and dramatically change the impact that their house has on the market.
It can very definitely be the case. I think there's, to a degree of balance, I think everybody's home is their castle. And if you go in and say, oh, that's dreadful, why didn't you change that? I think I'd get kicked out quite quickly at times. I've been home and I've pinched ideas and told my wife that, that was my idea, that was brilliant. But I think, there are certain ones where you go in and... I used the phrase earlier, but I think at times you're then using it to paint a picture for a customer.
So you can use that and say, what this house is crying out for is that wall to come down. You wouldn't even need to change the kitchen. All of a sudden, you've got a large open area, and people can then just imagine themselves living there.
That's exactly it. Yes, yeah. It's just making somebody see where something can be when it's their home. And that's the key for selling a house. It's making somebody else feel they can live there. And there's all sorts of silly things, I suppose, isn't there? An enormous bathroom can very quickly be an ensuite in a bathroom, so that somebody's got, again, people love ensuites, so the extra room there. Small little things can juggle those type of buys or non-buys. So I totally agree with what you're saying, but yes, maybe we have to phrase it a little bit diplomatically.
You just use that information in a different way.
Maybe
yes.
so. Yeah,
yes.
yeah. But
you're like, actually, you don't need to move because you could just do that, and then the house would be exactly what you're looking for.
Try not to do that too often. But actually, there are times when you do have to say to somebody, if you did that, you could change it, you could improve it, and I think, our job is to get the best possible price for somebody in all reality. So, if somebody says, what can I do to change it? And it's a fairly quick and simple job to make an alteration that's going to work. And that can vary. Do I take my old-fashioned blue bathroom suite out and put white in? And that you can spend a fairly smallish sum and add a value, whereas there's something else where somebody will say, well, do I change this and do that and do I swap that, but I want to buy this one in 6 months' time fairly swiftly, and you can be spending £1 to make £1 and actually not be able to achieve the move that you want. So there's a fine line, I think, between when to do it.
And I suppose that's the beauty of what you said earlier. Every property is so different. Every person is so different.
I think, it's certainly that houses are very different in the UK. We're one of those only markets, aren't we, where everybody buys and everybody dreams of being a homeowner. That's a great thing that we have in the UK. But people are different too. Some people, they really want to see what they can do in a new home. Somebody else wants to move in, put the feet up in front of the television and
stay
never
there
touch
for
it again.
35 years.
Indeed. Yeah. So, I think you've got to gauge. It's an old phrase, isn't it? You've got two ears and one mouth, and estate agents have always been renowned for using the mouth more than their ears. But I think you've got to listen to what somebody wants more than talk about what you think they want.
Yeah.
So if somebody says they need this or need that, then make that work for them if you can in whatever house they're seeing.
Be creative.
That's maybe the way. Yeah.
Brilliant. And are there any sort of final top tips for any listeners or viewers watching?
I think the key thing is that if you see the right home, then everybody loves to negotiate, and I get that. Hey, I do it for a living. But if it's the right home, go for it. It's too easy to miss something because you think you can do a deal.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that it's always worth having a little bit of a negotiate and look for value. But it's a great thing of homeowners in the UK, isn't it? We all like to buy, we all like to add a value. But if you see the right one, it's not always about making money. You know, sometimes it's about living in a home for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you know, and that's...
So don't miss out on, you know, just trying to get a bargain to the point where you actually miss out on what could have been the dream home.
I think certain people, they want the bargain.
Yeah.
Certain people, they want the home. Don't
Yeah.
miss out on the home if it means it costing you an extra 50p a month on your mortgage. I'm sure if that's feasible to say.
No, that is absolutely brilliant, John. Thank you so much for joining us today. And our viewers and listeners, all of John's details are going to be displayed at the end of the podcast. So feel free to get in touch with John if you've got any more questions or would like to have him come out and value your property to get that on the market. But thank you so much, John. It's been an absolute pleasure having you today.
Yes. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
One Roof Financial LLP is an appointed representative of Primis Mortgage Network, a trading name of First Complete Limited, which is authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage. We usually charge a fee for mortgage advice. The amount of the fee will depend upon your circumstances and will be discussed and agreed with you at the earliest opportunity.